disabling the surveillance camera. She also devises a bazooka out of some office furniture. It's just, if you talking about it sounds ridiculous, but the way she goes about it and everything that happens, all the jumping from bridges onto moving trucks and whatnot. And I'm giving away the half the movie, but
don't give away the other half.
It's some movies will do this. Like Transformers is an awful example of just cutting like every 2 seconds, so it's all like a blur and you can't see what's happening. And you get the feeling that nothing really is happening, and it's just kind of like a visceral assault on your system. This, you can actually follow the physical logic in this crazy world, and it draws you in.
I think that was one of the strengths of the Bourne movies too.
Yes, exactly.
That they do that.
Yeah.
Well, but in the Bourne movies versus the Salt movie is, I think it's grounded in more of reality in the actions that go on. I mean, she does a lot of stuff. It's meant to be real and stuff, but some of it just sort of it's on the edge of you have to be a superhuman in order to do that. Not even a super spy, but a superhuman. But it is entertaining, no doubt.
But you accept her for that. I mean, it's like as you said, the Bourne, or even like a really good James Bond movie, and you're rooting for it to do even more crazy things.
Right. Well, I mean, that was sort of the great thing about the one.
And it's also like the Kick-Ass character too. I mean, the stuff that they do there is pretty just to the character himself.
In the two Bond movies we both watched last night, I forget what channel it was on, but I mean that's the whole thing is that Connery, does all the. I mean, that's the thing about James Bond is he does all these things where the ratio for a human surviving him is 1 in a million, and he always gets that 1%. That is what makes Bond Bond. I mean, Salt, and he does like 2 or 3 of them during the movie, And also, there's always, there's one with Robert Shaw where he's down and out, game over, and he gets a luck. He gets a.
There's an allusion to that, I think. With the knife blade and when the spy
Rosa Klebb.
Not to give that away, but that's like the
yes, there's definitely
Klebs,
a Rosa Klebb.
The Rosa Klebs.
Oh wow, good.
Yeah.
We're giving something away.
He points at me.
Oh, okay.
You got the Klebs, I got the Rosa. Or was it the other way around?
The most beguiling movie that I've seen this summer is Christopher Nolan's Inception. Most critics have loved this movie. Peter Keough, you are not one of those critics. Why not? Tell us.
Oh, I don't dislike it. The thing about this Inception is that the basic concept is that it's all a dream reality, but I didn't get the sense it was a dream reality. It seemed there was no sense of dread in that movie. The kind of dreams I have are more like Toy Story 3 or probably Trash Humpers or something. But there's no...
You really?
Well, I don't know.
That reveals a lot about you, Peter.
Or how about a car orgy like in the other guys?
Oh, yeah, Soup Kitchen, right. Well, it's not quite that bad, but you don't get any sense of like desire or fear, which is what dreams and movies are also based about. But you do get like this puzzle going on at 3 different levels of dreaming, or 4 different levels. It's hard to tell which, and you're drawn in to try to figure out what's actually going on and how they're going to resolve it. But I didn't really feel. I mean, this is a common criticism of the movie, that you don't feel emotionally involved in any of the characters. I mean, DiCaprio was in a similar movie, Shutter Island, where the whole dream relationship thing was questionable. What was real, what was hallucinatory, and so forth. But at least that character I felt a little more strongly for. And I didn't think that was a great movie either, but I thought that it was more emotionally loaded than Inception.
Given the plot points that you're given early on in both those films, the stakes, and I'm not gauging each film against each other, because they're both, whether you like them or not, they're really both handsomely crafted films, without a doubt. But the stakes are a lot higher in Shutter Island as to what the Caprio's character stands to win or lose, versus if you break down Inception, I don't want to give away anything, it's a giant house of cards, and what's at stake is not,
It's not life or death.
It's not life. Well, there you go.
And it's not really love either.
You gave it away. I didn't want to go that far there.
It's happiness.
But
it's just like solving a problem.
But both you guys are right, though. It is actually, watching that movie. It's 2.5 hours long. The articulation of the plot. It's nonlinear, I guess, is the best way to describe it. And it never, ever doesn't make sense. It's like Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. It's like a lot of stuff that Tarantino does. And it effortlessly makes sense. And that I have a lot of appreciation for. And it's a great-looking film. And I thought the score actually was a sense of dread throughout it.
The score works very well, yeah.
Which was undeserving, because the stakes in the end really aren't that dreadful.
Yeah.
I can
But
actually
think
tell you
Pulp
something
Fiction
about
is.
that score. Interesting, because I interviewed Hans Zimmer, who did it for the first time in his career, and he must have done 100 scores.
Oh, yeah.
The director actually had him write the score before he saw the film.
Wow.
He said, here's the script, here's what I want to do, write a score to it, and I'll match it up to it. And that was unheard of. And Zimmer said that was one of the biggest challenges I've ever had, and it worked.
I just want to jump.
Pulp Fiction, one difference between the two, and it is a good comparison. Pulp Fiction was funny. There are no laughs. Yeah, no laughs in Inception.
Okay, well, thank you for the kudos on the comparison, but I want to jump in with a really interesting story about score. Is I went and saw William Friedkin at the Harvard Film Archive a few years ago, and we saw Sorcerer, the remake of Wages of Fear, and Tangerine Dream did the score for it. And he said that the way he did that score was one night he went to an all-night party out in the Black Forest in a church, and Tangerine Dream was playing. He said, I like your music. Here's a script for a movie I'm doing. And it was supposed to be Steve McQueen in the lead, but he got canceled because he wanted Ally McGraw in it. And Tangerine Dream wrote the score for that movie directly from the script. He did the exact same thing for To Live and Die in L.A. with Wang Chung, too. Sure. He met the guys in L.A., and he said to them, the last thing I want you to do is to make a song called To Live and Die in L.A. And they did anyways, and he said, well, we'll run it at the beginning credits. Interesting story about, working a score. I'm done. That was a little sort of side story.
It's a little.
I was trying to do it as quickly as possible so not to bore anybody.
That'll be in the DVD.
Director's cut. Shouldn't you guys as critics be excited about a movie like Inception that is making so much money and that really makes people think? I mean,
And they go to the theaters to see it.
yeah, and
That's important.
People are leaving the theater and talking for hours about this film. I mean, that's got to be a good
Well,
sign.
Avatar, the same thing.
Yeah, and so did The Matrix. They even had courses in Eastern philosophy at Princeton, allegedly, about this. And when you think about going back to The Matrix years later, I mean, it seems kind of silly that we got all that wrapped up about it. And that's what I was saying.
That's another fascinating zeitgeist kind of movie.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying about Avatar. I mean, Christopher Nolan, I mean, one of the things you want to talk about, I mean, Memento was, I mean, a nonlinear narrative or a reverse linear narrative, or however you want to put it.
I thought that was a great film.
I think that's what Sarah Palin got her idea for writing on her hand. It's Memento.
Now we're going
Political somewhere.
How did the guy remember Memento? Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was just, again, and he does that with the plot, but in Memento, there was a lot at stake for that character, or you never knew what was at stake the whole time. Whereas in DiCaprio's case, it's served up at the beginning, and you keep thinking it's got to be something more. It's got to be something more. And well, I'm not going to say anything else. I'll let Peter ruin it for everybody else.
I didn't give anything away. Nobody's going to put it together from my clues.
I was very excited by Inception. There, I've said it.
Have you seen Following, which was his first movie?
That was a
I've
good
never
movie,
seen
too.
it. No, I've
Yeah,
not
it's
found
on
that.
video now. It's I saw that at a film festival. I think it was Berlin, actually.
I thought, what did the Boston Film Festival? It was
It could
actually a
have,
good
yeah.
film
Oh, no, you
festival?
gave it away.
Oh, sorry.
Stockholm, I think it was.
Stockholm. Just a Copley Place.
He's an interesting
But it's like an $80 movie, and it's a very simple concept, and it may be his best movie. It's a brilliant movie. It's about this guy who lives in London, and he's kind of bored, and he develops his hobby of following people, and then he gets into a world like Inception, except he's awake all the time. It's a very good movie.
I thought one of the big differences between Memento and Inception was that Memento was a much more emotional film. As you said, you really felt like something was at stake for this character. And I also thought it made a comment about how we live our lives, about how we try to chase things and make up little scenarios for ourselves so that we can survive. I thought that was a big difference. Whereas Inception, it didn't hook me on such an emotional level.
Well, if you think about Memento, the guy's losing his mind literally, and he's not in control. Whereas Inception, DiCaprio is intentionally losing his mind, if you want to use that terminology, and he's constantly trying to control everything around him when he enters into these uncontrolled areas, if that makes any sense. But so
You're drawn into an irrational kind